Both SRAM Red eTap AXS and Shimano Dura-Ace are performance group sets. Both are each brand's top-end products, and both are used by the pro racers on the international stage. With the latest R9200 version of Dura-Ace released in 2021, there are more similarities between the two road bike group sets than there were, but plenty of differences still. We've got full reviews of our experience of riding both SRAM Red eTap AXS and Shimano Dura-Ace R9200. But if you're not sure which is for you and want a more direct comparison, watch on. Weight and price. You will save yourself around $100 by opting for Dura-Ace over Red eTap. Although the latest 12-speed Dura-Ace is actually a few grams heavier than the older 11-speed version, it looks as if the quest for ever lower group set weights may have peaked. Shimano's is also the cheaper group set, albeit only marginally, saving you around $90 at full retail price. Gear ratios. SRAM took a new approach to road bike gearing with Red eTap. Everything is geared around the 10-tooth sprocket on the cassette, and this has allowed the brand to shrink the front chainrings, pushing the extra gear range to the back. So SRAM Red cassettes are offered in 4 options. The 1026, 1028, or 1033 can run with a standard red derailleur. You can also run a 1036 cassette with a specific, compatible wider range red derailleur. SRAM 12-speed cassettes will only fit on wheels with SRAM XDR. By pairing these to smaller chainrings, SRAM has been able to provide more gear range at the back that exceeds the top and bottom gearing of traditional ratios, as well as 7 consecutive 1-tooth changes. SRAM Red chainrings come in 46/33, 48/35, and 50/37 options as standard, so you can have a lowest ratio below 1 if you use a 1036 cassette with a 46/33 or 48/35 chainset, without losing. In comparison to Shimano's traditional gearing, the 50/37 and a 1026 cassette is the equivalent of the 53/39 with an 1125 cassette. The 48/35 and an 1128 is the equivalent of a 52/36 with an 1128 cassette. Finally, the 46/33 with a 1033 is the same as a 50/34 with an 1134 cassette. Design. Shimano Dura-Ace and SRAM Red eTap AXS both have very distinctive designs, but both are very functional. The SRAM Red AXS chainset has the 2 chainrings machined out of 1 block of material instead of being held together by chainring bolts like Shimano's group sets. These are then mounted onto the crank arm directly using a spline interface. This directly impacts the stiffness of the chainrings, which itself has a big bearing on how well the front mesh will shift, as well as other performance benefits for the racers. It's worth noting though that this means that once a chainring is worn you need to replace both. Ditto if you want to tweak your ratios. Also note that since as standard the power meter is integrated into the chainrings, which SRAM says it's done to ensure the best accuracy, you need to replace this too when you replace the rings. SRAM says that it's engineered its chainrings to up their longevity by 50% over its older 11-speed group set. It also offers a 50% discount to the original owner when they buy a replacement power meter/chainring set within 5 years. You can also buy a separate power meter spider as an upgrade to a non-power meter chainset. Battery life and shift speed. SRAM Red derailleurs each have their own removable battery attached to the rear of the mechanism. A couple of advantages to this are that it's easy to take the battery off and recharge it somewhere convenient with SRAM's recharging cradle, and that if one battery goes flat, usually the rear you can swap them about and keep going. You should get around 60 hours of riding on a charge, with each derailleur having an indicator light that shows green, red then flashing red to show battery level. You can also check battery status in the SRAM AXS phone app. See below. Each shifter operates on a CR2032 coin cell which should last for around 2 years. There's a battery indicator LED on the shift paddle to show you when it's running low. Shimano meanwhile has a single central battery that's usually mounted in the bike seat tube and powers both derailleurs via wires. This setup has greater capacity than SRAM's, and Shimano claims a range of 1000 km between charges. There's an indicator light on the rear mesh that indicates charge level, and, like SRAM, you can also check battery status in the Shimano eTap app. You recharge the battery via a port on the rear mesh. Ergonomics. SRAM Red eTap AXS brake/shift levers have a large single. You shift one to move to higher gears and the other to shift to lower gears. Hit both together and you'll initiate a front shift. It's very intuitive and avoids the risk of missed shifts from hitting the wrong lever. SRAM's hoods are quite large. That may be a pro or a con depending on how you look at it. It's more comfortable than a smaller lever as hand pressure is distributed over a larger area but might be less easy to grip for smaller hands. Braking. As mentioned above, both SRAM and Shimano offer either rem or disc brake option. SRAM's Red level rim brakes are single pivot only, whereas Shimano also has a direct mount Dura-Ace option. Both brands' disc brakes are designed to work with either 104-dom or 106-dom rotors. SRAM centerline rotors are road-specific, but Shimano uses the rotors from its XDR MTB group set, with Dura-Ace something the pros were doing at least a year in. Shimano R9200 brakes use servo wave tech, again ported from its MTB range, that gives you progressive brake action that is more aggressive at the end of the stroke, and lighter when you're just feathering the brakes. The pistons also retract 10% more than the previous generation calipers to help reduce the likelihood of brake rub, whereas SRAM brakes use dot fluid. Shimano's use mineral oil. Dot fluid is more resistant to boiling than mineral oil, and SRAM says the dot 5.1 fluid it recommends has a boiling point of 207 tick when dry. It can absorb water from the atmosphere, but even with 4% water still boils at 155 tick. The higher boiling point should make a dot fluid-based system more stable, says SRAM, leading to longer periods between brake system bleeds. Now it's your turn. Which one impresses you the most? Let us know in the comment section below. Also, do share and subscribe to our channel for further video notifications.